Hi and welcome back. In today's lesson, we are going to discuss about the two-dimensional arrays. So we discussed about the standard 1D arrays, and this is about the two-dimensional arrays. They are data structure that store data in a grid or in table format. So they have rows and they have columns. If you look at this one, this is a table, right? This has 5 columns and it has 4 rows. So it is storing numbers from 1 all the way to 20. And you may think about something like you have played this game like Battleship, right? When you and your opponents, you tell that which row or column you are trying to attack the ship, and they will say that yes, it hit the missile hit the ships or not. It is exactly like that game. You have a board game and you have all of these rows and columns. And imagine that you have this table. So this is an example of a 2D array having 5 columns and 4 rows. Also remember, the columns, the positions always start from 0. So this one, the position number 1, you see here when we have the number 1 stored here. This is 2D array. So this is the name of this array is called 2D array. I have defined that, and it's having all of these numbers. So if I want to access this particular item, I have to say 2D array, square bracket open, 0, the name of the row, the row ID. So this is the row number 0, 0, column 0. The column also is 0. So 0 and 0, it will be positioning, is this position, and it's having number 1 inside it. This particular one, so if I want to access this number 18, this particular item, this is actually on row number 3. Actually, this is the 4th row, right? But as the row IDs, they all start from 0. So this is 0, 1, 2, and 3, the 4th item. So I have to say 2D array, open a square bracket, 3, and what is the column? The column is 0, 1, 2. So this is pointing to the number 18. And the way we define them, we can define that, as in this way. So this is static definition of the 2D array. So you open one square bracket, then you start putting the items inside it. So the first one is 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. So this is 1 column. So this is one full row of information. We put it inside one row, comma, then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, this is another row, then 11 to 15, another row, and another row, and finally we close the whole array, right? So it is defined like this, and as I mentioned, to access these IDs, you can access them like this, 0 and square bracket again 2, or you can access them in this way with columns. To access the values of these items, we need to use nested loops. So a loop inside another loop to access these elements. So for example, to print out all of these items of this array, we need one loop, one for loop to go over all the rows. So this is for the row. So I start from, and I create a variable called row, and I start from 0 to my 2D array.length. So this is the number of the rows I have inside the array, minus 1, of course. And inside that, I have to create, so this loop will go over each of these rows. So this row, this row, this row, this row. Then when it is pointing to the first, I need to create another loop, so for the columns, to start going and printing and accessing each of these columns, the numbers I have. So for column, starting from 0, again to my 2D array, open bracket, row, so for that particular row, for this particular row, dot length, okay, minus 1. So this will be the number of the columns that this particular row has. And all of them, they have the same, so it will return the same amount for each row. And then I will print out my 2D array, specifically the row and columns. Let's try this out inside our code station. All right, so let's go with one example of the 2D array. So I have exactly that array here. So I have an array grid with 4 rows and 5 columns, and it has all of these numbers. This is exactly what we had in the slides of the lesson. And just for example, I'm printing here the first element and also the 3 and 4 elements. I don't know which one exactly is that, but it will print. This is the last item actually after array. So this is the 4th row and 5th column, which is the 20. Now let's do something like this. We want to print out the even and odd numbers of this array. So let's create one statement for ourselves. Print the even and odd numbers of these 2D array. So I need to go evaluate each item of this array to see is it even or odd, and I have to print a message. So let's do that. So I don't need any of these, and I have already created the array with the numbers. It's already there. So what I need to do? So I need, first thing is I need a loop, another loop to go over each item of the array, right? So I will create the first loop to go over the rows of this array. So let's do it one by one. And I create this variable called row because that's easier. This is my row counter, and I start from 0. So for row equal to 0, 2, and my array name is called grid, and I say grid.length -1. Okay, now inside here I need to create another loop, okay, for column starting from 0 to grid. Which item of the grid? The row item of the grid dot length, again -1. Now over here, if I print the grid, if I print grid row and column, just this, and this is, I have to close this. This will be next column, and this is gonna be next row. Let's just run this. This loop inside another loop. For each row, it selects the first row, it goes over the first row, this one, okay, this is the first row, and then it creates another loop here for column starting from 0 to grid row. So the length of this, which is 1, 2, 3, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 item -1, which will be 4. So from 0 to 4, it will print out. What is the row? The row is 0. So this is the 0. Row is always 0, right? In this loop here, row is always 0, and the column is the one which is changing. So it will print the 0, 0, which is this one. Then 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, right? And then once this loop is over, it ends here. Then it exits from this loop, from the column loop. It goes here, next row. So then what will happen is the pointer will move here. So it starts looking at taking this row. It takes here, then it starts a new fresh column loop from column 0 to again row, which is this one now. And it starts printing. The row is now 1, which is this one, right? So this is the row 1, and it starts from here. Row 1, it will print the grid 1 and 0. So 1 and 0, column 0, row 1 will be 6. Then column 1 will be 1 and 1. It will be 7, and all the way to column number 4, which is actually the 5th element. So if I run this as it is, you see that it printed all the numbers, right? It printed all the numbers of my 2D array. Now, what do I need to do? Actually, this is very simple, right? Because now we are accessing this value, right? We are accessing the value of the 2D array. So what I'm going to do is I just create a if statement. If this one, actually I don't need to print this. If grid row and column mode 2 equal 0, then print, what do we print? We print even, and we print also the numbers. So the number is greet row, comma, column, right? And I will put another one, else if, let me just copy paste this whole thing to make life easier. If greet row and column mod 2 is equal 1, then actually it is odd, and that's it. Oh, I have to close my if statement, otherwise I will get a big error. And if. So this is our processing for each item of this array. If I run this, now you see odd, even, because these numbers are just simply from sequential odd and even numbers. Very simple. So the 2D arrays, remember that we have rows and columns. To access each one, we need to use nested loops. So the first loop goes over the rows, one row by one row, the first row, and the second loop. So the first loop selects the first row, and the second loop goes over each item, each column of that row. Once that is done, it goes to the next row. The row will stay and the second loop starts and goes over each item, each column of that row. That's how it works. Okay, let me see, do I have, this is another, these are easy examples of 2D arrays. So this one, I have an array of B, this is called B, and it is 2 by 2. This is how you define it, and I'm assigning a couple of values to there, and it will print the first item, which I assigned 1, so it will print 1, and here I have assigned 1 and 1, which is the last item, and this is just printing 4. But that previous one was a good example of how do we access each item of the 2D-dimensional array. And also we have done some calculation and checking, printing even and odd numbers of that. 2D arrays, you may get questions on the 2D array. It happened, I think, in I don't remember exactly which year, but yeah, from time to time you get questions on the 2-dimensional array as well. So always remember, you need to have nested for loops to go over the items of the 2D. All right, so that was all about the 2-dimensional arrays, and this is the end of the array section. All right, I will see you in the next lesson.